grappling hook that allows us to use those ropes. And you gotta be really careful with those ropes, because you want to be just, on these ones, you want to be just south of like the stump area, and then hit over, and you'll hear it click, and then you'll start to move. If you don't hear it click, go back, immediately back up and try it again, because you will just, sometimes there's been plenty of times, especially when I was a kid, that I couldn't get to work properly, that I just fell right in the water and died, and I would just get frustrated right off the bat, and never fun to just die for whatever, because it just doesn't work correctly or the way it should work. So of course be careful while doing that. And here we go, this is where we need to head up to this door. And now we're in a whole nother world, a whole nother place, which we now have these egg dropping guys, which can be annoying. They remind me of the birds, giant birds that drop the little humper monkey things from Castlevania. Very similar in style. But the eggs at least, or also the birds that drop the eggs that explode and little tiny birds appear out of them as well. Theirs can be just as annoying. I think they're also from Castlevania. But at least these eggs don't explode and other little birds fly out of them. At least that doesn't happen. So we're working our way over to the end here. It's not really long of an area or anything like that. You can just pretty much walk through it, avoiding all the enemies, killing them if you want. If you want to try to level up and get some more experience, this is a pretty decent area to get it. If not, end here. Now here's a series of caves. This is the first series of caves you gotta deal with. A little change of enemies, but they're basically just sprite swaps of the other enemies we've been fighting. They're a little bit tougher though. Ignore that first rope. This is the path I'm going to take just to get completely out of this area as quickly as possible. So I'm going to pass that first rope, do some simple platform jumping over holes. Watch out for the fireballs while using the rope slides. There's a lot of the fireballs throughout there. Ignore that, which you could have used the grappling hook to head down if you wanted to. As far as I remember, there's a healing room down there which takes a long time to get to and isn't very useful if you already have full health, as well as a useless guru that tells you a useless piece of knowledge that you don't really need to know. But ignore them. Head to the door. You're back in an open area, the other open area like this. We're basically doing the same thing we did in the first area, dodging all the enemies when they pop up, and head to the door. Okay, now this one we actually do some of the changing. We have to actually find the boss battle, the spider we're heading to. So first off, head right down immediately on the first area you can. Once you're on the platform, head to the left, dodging any enemy or killing them, which I will kill most of them because there's almost no way of being able to easily dodge them out. But the game has one of those weird type of things, a lot of the Tecmo games do, that when you go off screen and come back, the enemies either disappear completely, even though you just went off screen for a split second, or they respawn, and then you got like 2 times the amount of enemies chasing you down, instead of just the one set of enemies chasing you down. Head down the grappling hook, and then head down immediately down the next one you see. Now you're in a series of platforms that you need to watch out for fireballs, as well as the weird dragon, bird, unicorn type monsters that are hanging around. You can take out the fireballs by hitting with your armor, your shield armor weapon, which can be very useful if you need to, but pretty much the best time to jump is doing a short jump when the fireball is at its highest point, doing the little tiny short jump in order to make it past the gaps. That's the most useful way I found, at least, of getting past the fireballs, which takes of course a little bit of tiny practice in order to, but see how high the fireball goes in this part? So once I kill this unicorn bird dragon thing, just wait for it and jump underneath the fireball. You don't even really need to do a short jump on some of them. Pretty much there's nowhere else to go, so you head down the grapple, and now we're heading to the other direction. We're heading to the right now. Pretty much more of the exact same thing we just did. More of the unicorn, weird dragon, bird flying things, and fireball jumps to platform over. Killing more of these guys. Pretty much same thing, like I said, same thing we were just doing. More fireballs and more dragon, bird type weird things. Nothing too amazing or exciting or overly hard to deal with. Come on. There we go. Okay, and now it's time for the boss. This boss is really, really easy. Use your grapple hook to get in the middle here, and just stay there. and he'll keep, every time you hit him, he starts going the opposite direction. Sometimes when he goes up the right side, he'll drop back down and do it real quickly back over to the right. You can also move up and down on the grappling hook if you're fast enough to be able to just keep him back and forth, but usually you won't be, you may be able to do it once or twice, but then he'll get past you eventually on the top end or bottom. See, like I was just able to do, but I'm not going to be able to reach him back in time. So this takes a little bit of time to do. All the bosses in the game take a good amount of hits to take, unless you've completely maxed out your character. Some people, like the second area of experience that I'm going to be doing in this run, a lot of people like to just go there immediately as soon as possible in the game and level up as quickly right off the bat as they, fully max their experience, which can take a very good amount of time. Well, of course, it's always best to be max level. I don't really need to in order to complete the game, so instead of taking all that extra time to do that, I'm just gonna get up to about what I'll need, which is about 8 bars of health or so, and then I'll just complete the game from that point on. And I shouldn't have any problems defeating the bosses, because once I get to the final area, I'm also gonna have the potion, which I can use in case my health gets really low. But I've gotten pretty good over the years of being able to dodge most of the projectiles that the final boss likes to throw at me. Like I said, it's kind of boring to watch at least, so I'm just kind of talking about future things, but this is pretty much how, anytime you play the game, this is about how it's going to go. This boss in particular, very, very easy, but boring because there's nothing to really dodge. It could have been a lot harder, of course, if you had any kind of projectile to throw at you as well, which would have, of course, gotten really, really freaking annoying. But thank you, Rygar, thank you, Tecmo, for not putting this spider with projectiles. And hey, look, my door switched sides. Okay. Anyway, you go through this door, and now you're back at the Guru guy. Grab the item real quick, and boom, you're outside here. From this point, now that we have our next item, we're heading to the left. Now we're going to be heading north up here. Ignoring that door, that's just a useless Guru as far as I remember. And heading right at the end of the coast here. And we're going to grapple hook across here using our rope, which is, in case I didn't say it, up and B at the same time, it uses the hook, in which case you can move across. Okay. Now we're entering this area, and now we're in a dungeon castle-like area that's a actual dungeon that uses a top-down view. There's only 2 of these other than that main map area that uses this. It's this level, and then the final level of the game. Of course, first head all the way up, as you saw, to the right, watching out for the big guys, which we've already fought a ton of them. They're just palette swipes of the other green ones that we fought throughout the main map of the game, or the main map of that area. Now we're going to head north here, ignoring that door. It's just a useless Guru guy. He's just going to say something that we don't really need to hear. Head to the right here. Use our grappling hook in order to get across the gap here. There we go. I actually slid on it the first time, but want to make sure. Head to the left. Watch out for, of course, the trees, as well as there's weird crawling arm type guys that are kind of funny looking. Watching out for them. There's another one of these tree guys. We're going to head south and use the gap in order to cross and get to the other side here. Then we're going to head to the left, which should lead us to another door, which we don't really need either. Just another pile of useless information. I found it funny that the graphics can only sustain one door on screen at one time. I like how that there's a door at the top, and then as soon as I went to the bottom, the door changed to the other side of the screen. Here, just go left, up leads to another door and a Guru guy that we don't need. As I said, there's a lot of those guys throughout the game, so there's many paths. You may be thinking, well, this has to be the right path, but, I found it, and then you just get to the end, and there's a guy there, and he's just like, hey, how you doing, guy? Nice weather we're having. Now, go kill the final, no, go fight the boss. Yeah, go do that. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to get there or where to go, but go fight him. Anyway, worthless information is always fun, especially when you just took a really long path that took you hours and hours of deaths and all to find, and then you get to him and you're like, screw you, Guru. Screw you. Now we're at the boss. Here's my strategy, as you're going to see. I'm going to keep jumping left or right. It doesn't look like I wouldn't be able to hit him normally on the ground because my weapon wouldn't. But because I'm in the air, my weapon is somehow able to hit the boss. So I'm going to use this. I'm able to get past all his bat things. Sometimes the game will glitch, and when you try to jump left or right, you'll get stuck for a second, and then you'll fall. I don't really know what triggers the weird glitch of the jumping and all. Like, it acts like all of a sudden you're jumping into a wall, even though, of course, there is no wall. So it's like an invisible wall, which is, of course, the worst type of wall ever. But anyway, jump back and forth. You know, if you get hit, you know, make sure you're watching your health. In order, you should have full magic. So unless you've used it, you know, you should have full magic. Use the magic to fully heal yourself if you need to. If not, just continue jumping back and forth, watching out for the bats. As you can see, by going fully left or right on the screen, you're able to bypass 90% of the bats. Which I must say, the only thing that's annoying about this game is the length of time it takes me to do some of these boss battles.